Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this high-level dialogue on advancing energy access and clean cooking solutions on behalf of the co-chairs of the forthcoming Summit on Clean Cooking in Africa, which will be hosted in Nairobi on 9th and 10th July. This session today is a stepping stone to that summit, where we are bringing together those committed to advance clean cooking in Africa, celebrating successes since the first summit and identifying what more there is to be done. Allow me to first thank Dr. Fatih Birol, Executive Director of the International Energy Agency, for elevating this important issue and bringing us together on this topic, as well as the chair of the 2026 IEA Ministerial Meeting, Her Excellency Sophie Hermans, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Climate Policy and Green, Netherlands. Allow me to also thank our co-leads for this session, the Honorable Chris Wright, Secretary of Energy of the United States, Her Excellency Taj Aslan, Minister of Energy of Norway,
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and many thanks, Mr. Chairman, and many thanks to Kenya's leadership on clean cooking. Dear colleagues, thank you very much, first of all, to joining this session. It's a very important session. I am very happy that we have a session at our ministerial on clean cooking in Africa. In itself, I think this is a sign that how IEA put emphasis on clean cooking it is all the work we are doing. Dear colleagues, we at the IEA look at the excess of energy issue since almost 3 decades. In our work, World Energy Outlook, there is always a section, discussion on the energy access in developing countries. It started first, access to electricity, but now the second hallmark of energy poverty, namely access to clean cooking, is an area that we push very strongly. And many of you know, well, more than 3 decades, it has been a personal obsession for me because I see the suffering and while the solution is so easy, and we still cannot find this solution to this major humanitarian issue. So what is the problem? The problem is the following, dear colleagues. In Africa today, 4 out of 5 families prepare their meals by using wood, agricultural waste, animal waste. And it is mainly women who prepare the meal. And as a result of this primitive way of cooking, they are exposed to respiratory diseases. Every year, about 800,000 people, mostly women and children, die prematurely because of the respiratory diseases caused by these cooking practices. And the solution is very simple, and it is not expensive. Our numbers show that we can fix this problem, provide universal access to clean cooking in entire sub-Saharan Africa by an investment of 4 billion per year, which is nothing when you look at compare with the magnitude of the problem we are facing today. And this solution will be mostly LPG, but also there are other ways of addressing this issue. As I said at the IEA, we have raised this issue years and years, numbers, analysis, policy recommendation, and we said last year, the numbers are there, analysis is there, so it is time to go to action. And last year, I convened the first Clean Cooking Africa summit here in Paris. I am thankful to the Tanzanian President, Madam Suluhu Hassan, Prime Minister Norway, Mr. Støre, and more than 1,200 people, several heads of states, several ministers, and several companies coming there. And at that meeting, we raised, dear colleagues, 2.2 billion US dollars to accelerate the clean cooking. And as I understand, and I promised to people there, we raised this money, but we will report you back what happened with this money. And up to now, we follow very closely. 470 million of that money has been dispersed, especially for the storage and the infrastructure of the LPG dissemination in the sub-Saharan Africa. Dear colleagues, given the success, it was beyond our expectations, and I want to also thank President Macron here, who received the participants in the Elysee Palace. Given the success of the first one, I am very happy that I can announce you, as the Kenyan government just mentioned, we are going to hold the second one, and this time in Nairobi. One of the first persons I shared this idea, would you like to do it with me, was Secretary Wright. And normally when you ask a minister or a secretary, would you do it this way, they want to ask their consultants or advisors, they look at their calendar, and he said immediately yes. So thank you very much, Mr. Secretary, for being an important player here and your passion there. Then I talked with the Prime Minister Støre. He's a very good man. He's a very good friend. He was also there saying yes, and I was very heartened that the President Ruto agreed to host us in Nairobi. So we will have a meeting on 10 and 11th of July in Nairobi, and this time we want to raise more commitments, and also we want to clarify even further how these commitments will turn to real investment decisions in the world. Maybe I finish by two final things. While we make the analysis, data, policy recommendations, and using our convening power international to ring the alarm bells for this issue, we wanted to have our work even more finding echo on the ground. So there is an international organization called Clean Cooking Alliance. Several governments, industrial members, they are working on the ground to make this happen. And I am very happy that our governing board, our governments have agreed, and the Clean Cooking Alliance board as well, that they will be working now under the IEA roof with us. So thank you very much, especially their director, Dimfa, is with us here. Thank you very much. And I want to thank also Netherlands, Madam Deputy Prime Minister, thank you very much for all your support, and also Norway making this happen and putting this in the agenda. Very many thanks. Finally, dear colleagues, I believe, I follow this issue almost 3 decades. We have all the numbers, what is happening, what is not happening. I believe we are not very far to give very good news to the world that we are coming to solve this problem for once and forever. We have the technology, we have the political will, we have the solutions ready, and I think IEA is ready to conquer the hearts of the women in sub-Saharan Africa by providing them clean cooking and a better lifestyle. So thank you very much. Again, I go back to Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Biro, for your decades of leadership on this issue, and also IEA's work to elevate the issue onto the global agenda. I now invite Her Excellency Sophie Hermans, Deputy Prime Minister of the Netherlands and Chair of the IEA 2026 Ministerial, to take the floor.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to you all. It's an honor to be here with you today. And I would like to start by expressing my gratitude to Kenya, to Norway, the United States, and the IEA for putting the advancement of energy access at the center stage today. Clean cooking is an essential part of the broader access to energy agenda. And after the first dedicated high-level summit, we saw the adoption of clean cooking within the broader agendas of the COP, the G7 and the G20. And I was in South Africa at the G20 energy meeting in September, and there we had a good discussion on clean cooking as well. So it's great to be here and to build further on that discussion. And I think it's good that clean cooking has become embedded in the efforts of many international organizations and institutions, making aligned efforts more important than ever. And therefore, we are grateful that today's outcomes will be taken forward by Kenya later this year during the second major summit on clean cooking, as you mentioned, taking place in Nairobi. And in all parts of the world, leaders are stepping up with the announcement of clean cooking delivery units in many countries, which include concrete actions. Actions such as stove distribution programs, support schemes to improve the affordability and availability of fuels, and initiatives that make electric cooking more accessible and affordable for households. A broad range of technologies has come to the forefront the last couple of years and will be necessary in the years to come as part of the solution. For example, in some contexts, cooking on electricity has now already become competitive with other technologies, such as LPG, biogas, ethanol, and even biomass. And from our side, we have been a dedicated partner on Sustainable Development Goal 7 for decades, with many dedicated programs in the past and present. And only with real cooperation, we can make a firm difference. Together with the Clean Cooking Alliance, we are exploring how the results of a program that we are working on in the with the European Commission, how we can make sure that the results of that program are circled back directly to the clean cooking delivery units, so that real transitions indeed can take place. And the Clean Cooking Alliance was one of the cornerstones within our broad portfolio that we have supported since 2019 with more than $15 million. And we have strongly backed the IEA's growing leadership in this area. We should continue to bring these efforts together, as this will also benefit delivery and the outcomes of the summit later this year. Clean cooking and access to clean energy go hand in hand. So please, let's continue this path forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister Hamans. The Netherlands has long been a leader on clean cooking, and we hope this will remain a high priority for the Netherlands development agenda in the years to come. Now, my pleasure to welcome a Minister from Kenya, Honorable Pio Andai, to deliver his keynote. Welcome, Minister.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I bring you warm greetings from Kenya and Africa, which, as you know, stands today at a decisive turning point in its energy transition. Special message of goodwill from His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya. Allow me to begin with a simple but urgent reality. Nearly 600 million Africans still lack electricity, and close to 1 billion people continue to cook with polluting fuels, causing over 800,000 premature deaths each year, disproportionately affecting women and children. Reliance on solid biomass for cooking has led to accelerated deforestation and black carbon emissions, thereby worsening the effects of climate change. Sub-Saharan Africa is indeed at a crossroads, and therefore action is needed now to meet our 2030 commitments. Energy access in Africa is therefore not only an infrastructure challenge, It is a public health, gender equity, climate, and development imperative. Despite these challenges, Africa is not standing still. Since 2010, over 1 billion people globally have gained electricity access, and clean cooking access has accelerated across sub-Saharan Africa, with millions gaining access annually. Clean cooking is central to this transformation. It delivers some of the highest development returns of any energy investment, improving health, protecting forests, empowering women, and strengthening climate resilience. Universal energy access is incomplete without clean cooking, and we need to match electricity access and development of renewables with modern cooking solutions. In Kenya, we have made access to clean cooking an urgent national priority. Over the past decade, access to clean cooking solutions has risen from 15% to 34.4%. We have done detailed analysis on approaches needed, resulting in formulation of several strategy documents. We have adopted a multi-fuel approach, including LPG, ethanol, e-cooking, biogas, and other improved biomass technologies. Clean cooking has been embedded in the integrated national energy planning, and clean cooking is now a central pillar of the revised energy policy 2025-2034 and the Energy Compact of 2025, which articulate Kenya's commitments, actions required, and the investments needed to advance clean cooking transitions and achieving our socio-economic development and climate goals. We have created synergy with other subsectors of environment, health, industry, and finance, among others, through the Interministerial Committee, with coordination done by the Clean Cooking Implementation Unit under the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. Kenya is implementing results-based financing to incentivize verified clean cooking adoption, while carbon credit schemes have been deployed to subsidize bioethanol, electric cooking, biogas, and improved cook stove projects. The cost of Africa's clean cooking transition is significant, but the burden is unevenly distributed. While peri-urban households leverage existing grids and markets, rural families face higher upfront costs, limited access, and greater reliance on subsidies. Addressing this disparity is necessary if we are to avoid a two-tier transition where urban areas advance and rural communities remain locked in biomass dependence. Tailored financing and infrastructure is therefore necessary to ensure that no one is left behind. Africa's clean cooking transition requires urgent scale financing amounting to billions annually to close the access gap for over 900 million people. Current flows remain far below the estimated $2 billion investment required annually. We therefore call on the international community to expand blended finance for energy access and clean cooking, to de-risk demonstration projects in emerging economies, to strengthen innovation collaboration, support local manufacturing and value chains, and to move from pledges to implementation. The upcoming 2026 Clean Cooking Summit in Nairobi offers a historic opportunity to translate commitments into concrete action. The future of African energy is being written now. Let us ensure it is clean, universal, and fully funded. So welcome all to Nairobi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I hear people saying they are going to come. We look forward to 2026 Clean Cooking Summit. It is now my pleasure to invite the Honorable Chris Wright, Secretary of Energy. Honorable, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I sit here right now with inspiration and gratitude for everyone who's in this room. Delegates from the nations, my wonderful colleague from Kenya here, the foundations, the businesses, everyone here talking about and focusing on what the US government believes, President Trump believes, is the world's largest solvable problem. 2 billion people, a quarter of humanity, don't have what everyone in this room takes for granted, clean cooking fuel. We've heard the numbers just in Africa, 800,000 preventable deaths a year. World Health Organization estimates about 2 million deaths globally for simple lack of access to a fuel and a stove. We know how to solve this problem. We can solve this problem because history shows that. 1 billion people have gotten access to clean cooking fuel over the last 15 years. That is life-changing. We think of the deaths, the public health impact of it. If you talk to the families and mothers in Africa, as I have done, even bigger for them is the liberation of women who spend hours a day tending fires, gathering wood. This is freedom. This is life-expanding, life-enhancing, and game-changing. This is what the International Energy Agency should be focused on, and I'm thrilled is focused on. This is a challenge of energy access. This is a solvable challenge. To use Fatih's number, $4 billion a year, we believe can rapidly move us through lifting 1 billion people in Africa and another 1 billion people in South Asia and South America that don't have access to clean cooking fuel. More energy is the answer. This is President Trump's broader agenda. More energy is the answer to so many of the world's problems. A half of the global population today is wearing hand wash clothes. Think of the hours every day if you had to hand wash all of your clothes. More than half of the world does that today. Only 1 billion people live remotely recognizable lives to us in this room. As far as I know, all of the other 7 billion, I've never met one who didn't want to live a lifestyle more like ours. We need more energy in this planet. The IEA was founded for energy security. After a crisis in oil supply and a spike in prices, it was founded to focus on energy access, energy security, to better lives, to make our nations secure. The United States is very passionate about having the IEA return its entire focus to energy access, energy security, issues like clean cooking fuel, issues like interruptions of energy supply and careful tracking of data. Let's contrast the issue we're talking about today with what has taken so much energy and focus of the IEA over the last several years. $4 billion a year, we believe, can save hundreds of thousands of lives, transformed and save them going forward. In contrast, the world today, and the IEA has been a cheerleader and a drumbeater on this, the world today spends over $1 trillion in the name of fighting climate change, collectively over $10 trillion in the last 20 years. And what has been the upsides of that? 2.6%. 2.6% of global energy comes from wind, solar, batteries, and the increased transmission lines to promote them for $10 trillion. And everywhere it's had meaningful penetration, which is only in rich countries and only in the electricity sector, just one segment of energy and not the most important segment of energy, it has driven up the price of electricity and just shuffled and moved industries around the world. And what are we fighting? How many deaths last year came from extreme weather? That's the main context we hear about climate change these days. Well less than 10,000 people died from extreme weather events last year, among the record low ever recorded, and down 98% from what it was 100 years ago. So climate change is a real physical phenomenon. It just isn't even remotely close to the world's biggest problem. It's not even on the same shelf as clean cooking fuel. Yet we spend massively more money, massively more resources and focus in the IEA on an issue where we're not bettering human lives, we're not lifting people up. So I'm here to say I am thrilled about the Clean Cooking Fuel Initiative. I want the IEA, and I'm hoping the other countries will join me, to say let's focus on energy security and energy access. That's what IEA was founded on. This is just a classic example of where we can work together to make the world a massively better place. The United States, we're thrilled to announce the launch of a Clean Cooking Accelerator program to help build infrastructure to enable faster deployment of clean cooking fuel solutions, first in Africa, and we have awesome partners in that regard. First, my colleague from the government of Norway. We have foundations in the room here and businesses that are partnering with us on this effort. And it'll take a lot of efforts to go where we're going. But if we keep our eyes on the ball, on the big issues where we can better human lives, we can make tremendous progress together. God bless you all for being here. I can't wait to work with all of you. My new best friend from Kenya right here. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Secretary Wright. We thank you for your deep passion, which is discernible, on clean cooking and bringing the United States so strongly in on the issue. Kenya looks forward to working with you to prepare for the next summit. I now invite Excellency Aslan, Minister of Energy of Norway, and also the co-chair of the 2026 Clean Cooking Summit, to take the floor.
Thank you so much, and dear energy friends. Energy is not just a sector, it is a backbone of our economies, our societies, and our security. Decisions taken on energy determine whether people can work, learn, and live with dignity. According to the latest World Energy Outlook, energy investments are set to reach a record at $3.3 trillion in 2025. Clean energy and infrastructure now attract double the funding of fossil fuels, and renewable electricity is expanding quickly all over the world. Yet the reality is that oil and gas and coal still supply nearly 80% of total energy consumed globally. Today, the world consumes almost 4 times more energy than it did the year I was born, and the same year as Mr. Wright was born. This growth reminds us of a simple truth. Energy matters to everyone, everywhere, and access to it needs to be a top priority. At this side event, we focus on advancing energy access and clean cooking. Progress is real despite the pandemic, the war of aggression in Ukraine, and globally supply disruptions. Since 2010, around 1 billion people have gained access to electricity, and around 1.5 billion have gained access to clean cooking. But over 700 million people still lack access to electricity. Billions have unreliable supply, and more than 2 billion people cook with polluting foods that damage health and livelihoods. Universal energy access is achievable, but it only if we act with purpose. First, electricity is the foundation of jobs and economic growth. Basic access improves welfare, but affordable and reliable power drives productivity and industrialization. History shows this clearly. When electricity reached Norway in the late 19th century, it transformed households, enabled industry, and helped build a modern economy. Energy investments created opportunities, and it can do so again everywhere. Second, clean cooking is not a side issue. It is a core responsibility and must be built into energy planning and infrastructure from the very beginning. Third, clean cooking can and must ride the electrification wave, but it requires dedicated political leadership, targeted financing, and delivery systems designed for real-world conditions. Fourth, funding remains a key challenge. Strong demand exists. What is missing is sufficient investments to scale infrastructure and supply chains. Fifth, we must be pragmatic. Universal access will require all available technologies and fuels, including LPG, which has driven progress in Asia. Colleagues, energy access is about development, competitiveness, and stability. The choices we make now will define opportunities for generations to come. Let us act accordingly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Minister Asland. Norway has really supported clean cooking, being a colleague both in 2024 and also for 2026. Thank you and your Prime Minister for this continued partnership. I want also to thank all the colleagues for these opening remarks. Before we open the floor, we are going to have two lead interventions, and the first one is going to be provided by His Excellency Mr. Dejembi, the Minister of Energy, Tanzania. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, good morning. It is a privilege to contribute to this high-level dialogue on advancing energy access and clean cooking solutions. Clean cooking is no longer a peripheral development issue. It sits at the intersection of public health, gender equality, environmental protection, energy security, and economical transformation. In 2024, Tanzania, together with Norway, the International Energy Agency, and the African Development Bank, co-chaired the first African Clean Cooking Summit here in Paris. The mobilization of 2.2 billion United States dollars in pledges was historic. However, the true test of progress lies not in commitments, but in implementation at scale. Energy access is incomplete if a household has electricity for lighting, but continues to cook with smoke. Across Africa, millions still rely on firewood and charcoal. The consequences are well documented: indoor air pollution, deforestation, time loss, poverty for women and girls, and lost economic productivity. Tanzania made a deliberate decision to elevate clean cooking to the highest political level. Our National Clean Cooking Strategy 2024-2034 was officially launched on May 2024 by Her Excellency President Samia Suluhu Hassan, signaling that clean cooking is a national development priority. The strategy aligns policy, regulations, finance, private sector participation, public awareness, and technology development under one coordinated framework. The results are measurable. Access to clean cooking solutions in Tanzania has increased from 6.9% in 2021 to 23.2% in 2025, more than tripling in 4 years. In the current fiscal year, we are scaling up practical interventions. We are distributing 200,000 subsidized improved cook stoves and rolling out 450,000 subsidized LPG cylinders to accelerate the transition to modern fuels. We are also piloting on-bill financing for electric cooking through our national utility, reducing upfront costs and improving affordability for households. In addition, Tanzania has introduced a ban on the use of firewood and charcoal in institutions serving more than 100 people. This policy affects positively over 31,000 institutions nationwide, including schools and health facilities. It is already reshaping demand patterns and signaling a structure shift in our energy landscape. We are simultaneously strengthening standards and regulatory framework to ensure safety, quality, efficiency, and consumer protection. Credible standards build market confidence, attract responsible private investment, and safeguard households from substandard products. According to the IEA, universal access to clean cooking in Africa by 2040 is achievable, but it will require approximately 2 billion United States dollars annually over the next 15 years. To deliver on this ambition, several priorities are clear. First, clean cooking must be recognized as an economical sector, not merely a social program. It creates jobs across manufacturing, distribution, retail, and maintenance value chains. Second, public finance must play a catalytic role in crowding in private capital. Blended finance instruments, result-based financing, carbon markets, and credit guarantees will be essential. Third, regulatory certainty is critical. Investors require stable policies and predictable frameworks. Fourth, affordability must remain central. Even the most efficient technology will not scale in households cannot afford it. Pay-as-you-go systems, on-bill financing, and targeted subsidies must therefore be expanded. There is no single technological pathway. LPG, electricity, bioethanol, biogas, and advanced biomass solutions all have roles to play depending on geography, income levels, and infrastructure readiness. Our responsibility is to ensure solutions are sustainable, affordable, and resilient. The clean cooking transition is ultimately about dignity. It reduces respiratory illness, protects forests, saves time for women and girls, and contributes directly to the climate mitigation. It must therefore be fully integrated into national determination, contributions, and climate finance frameworks. As we look towards 2026, Africa Clean Cooking Summit, we must move from pledges to measurable commitments, from fragmented initiatives to scaled financing platforms, and from dialogue to accountability. Tanzania remains fully committed to implementing its national clean cooking strategy and to working closely with partners to ensure universal access to clean cooking across Africa by 2040. The pathway is clear. What is required now is speed, coordination, and scale. I thank you. Asanteni sana, and Chair, I submit.
Thank you, Mr. Minister from Tanzania. We will soon be opening the floor for interventions, and we'll be asking those who want to take the floor to raise their name tags. But as we do that, I want to invite the second lead, the lead intervention from Ms. Difna. Now you have the floor.
Thank you. Excellencies, honorable ministers, colleagues, and partners, welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to join today's important dialogue and for the IEA's continued leadership in elevating clean cooking within the global energy agenda. Over the past few years, clean cooking has rightly moved from the margins of energy discussions to the center. We now see it reflected in ambitious national energy compacts and energy transition plans. We see it firmly on the agenda of the G7, G20, and CEM. And we see it clearly in the announcement of the next summit on clean cooking in Africa in July this year, following the summit in 2024, which mobilized over $2 billion in commitments and catalyzed real policy momentum across the continent. That momentum is why the deepening partnership between the Clean Cooking Alliance and the International Energy Agency is so significant. It marks a new phase, not just for our organizations, but for the sector as a whole, by creating the principal multilateral forum for accelerating clean cooking efforts with governments, industry, and partners. It firmly roots clean cooking within the core architecture of global energy planning, investment, analysis, and convening. It signals that clean cooking is not only a health and gender issue, but critical to energy infrastructure, tied to energy security, economic growth, and industrial development. It strengthens our collective ability to connect ambitious commitments with delivery. Because as everyone in this room knows, commitments alone cannot deliver clean cooking access to the 2 billion people currently living without it. But smart capital can, clear policy can, and strong markets can, when they are built to function, scale, and serve real demand, when we all partner together to deliver. Markets do not organize themselves by accident. They do so when roles are clear, incentives are aligned, and institutions are strong. And governments play a central role in setting that direction, shaping the energy pathways that will define the next generation of energy access, guiding how countries' transitions unfold, and creating solid policy conditions that allow industry and finance to mobilize at scale. Different markets will scale differently based on their domestic resources, infrastructure, and development strategies. The objective is not to advantage one solution over another. It is to deliver outcomes that work for governments, businesses, and most importantly, for people. It is about ensuring that the highest quality solutions reach households and institutions across all of Africa. It is about affordable and reliable fuels and appliances instead of intermittent access. Integrated supply chains instead of fragmentation. Skilled systems instead of isolated pilot projects. The path forward requires partnerships and disciplined collaboration. We have to support and empower governments as they translate high-level commitments into delivery structures, implementation roadmaps, and bankable project pipelines. We have to build finance structures and investment pathways that will allow businesses to innovate and to scale. We have to articulate the mechanisms of how this capital actually reaches markets and makes solutions affordable for consumers. Skill is not an accident. It's the result of clarity, coordination, and courage. So let's set ourselves a shared task between now and the summit in July to move beyond incrementalism, to shift from pilots to platforms, from fragmented efforts to integrated energy systems, from short-term fixes to long-term transformation, from commitments to delivery. When we get this right, we will do more than close the source of energy poverty. We will unlock immediate health gains, environmental benefits, and economic opportunity for billions of people, especially women. And we will lay the foundations for energy markets that work, not just for the easiest to reach, but for everyone. That is the responsibility of leadership, and that is the opportunity before us, delivering clean cooking at scale. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Difna. Excellencies, we have a very impressive problem here. We have over 20 flags raised, and the session, we have only like 45 minutes left. This is, of course, a good challenge, but what we request is if we can limit our interventions to 2 minutes so that we can listen to as many parties as possible. So allow me then to start with the government and start directly in front, Minister from Nigeria. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I bring you greetings from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I sit here impressed listening to the speakers from the Executive Director, Chris White, and the Chairperson. It gives me encouragement that Africa is going to be put on the burner to make sure we address the challenges and difficulties. At various fora, we talk about Africa, poverty, energy poverty in Africa. That is, the consciousness is there. And so I think at this moment is the determination to release the funds to help Africa come at par with other zones in the globe. In Nigeria, we are really serious about clean cooking as put forward by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm the minister in charge of gas, and he has given me the mandate to make sure that by 2030, 5 million homes are taken out of cooking with firewood. It is an ambitious statement that has been put in place, and I'm happy that I'm here. We are doing well to make sure we gather funds to take charge of this. By what we call PIA, Petroleum Industrial Act, an act has been put in place which enhance funds generation from the midstream, downstream development, that is MDGIF. But this is not sufficient to take out 5 million homes out of firewood to save the environment. So at this very important forum, I present Nigeria as one of the countries in Africa that solicit for assistance in that space. And of course, in our own area, we are trying our best as a minister. We have 6 zones, which I finished the first round of distribution of LPG cylinders to the zones, measuring about 1 million so far. to take people and various homes out of energy security, cooking with charcoal or firewood to save several lives and, of course, save the environment. Because by doing this, as has been put forward by former speakers, we save people from indoor pollution as well as capturing the flare gas into commercial ventures that is used in the producing LPG for homes. So I appreciate all of us that have spent time to come and be at this very important gathering. I believe the future of Africa is brighter than it was yesterday by the time all of us come together to rescue Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. I now give the floor to our friend, Commissioner for Energy and Housing from EU. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, my friend, and dear friends around the table. The numbers have been repeated often, but that does not make them easier to hear. 600 million people in the sub-Saharan region of Africa is without access to electricity. More than 950 million without access to clean cooking. These are numbers that does not belong in the 21st century. To bring these numbers down, we need collective action, coordinated finance, and strong partnerships. Let me assure you all that the European Union will not be found waiting. For example, through the Africa-Europe Green and Energy Initiative, we've set out to bring at least 50 gigawatts of renewable electricity generation capacity to Africa, and to provide at least 100 million people with access to electricity by 2030. Under this initiative, we have mobilized 400 million euros for ongoing clean cooking activities in countries such as Kenya, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. Of course, Europe is not acting alone. Multilateralism is key to tackling our challenges. In this respect, we welcome the Clean Cooking Roadmap and the Voluntary Infrastructure Investment Action Plan endorsed by G20 ministers last year. We also look forward to the second International Clean Cooking Summit in Kenya in 2026. And we welcome the IEA's initiative to take over the Secretariat role of the Clean Cooking Alliance from the United Nations Foundation. Each of these initiatives provide us with valuable opportunities to improve access to electricity and clean cooking across the globe and to make basic human rights a reality for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency Jorgensen. I now turn the floor to Senegal. You have the floor.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I will try to be very pragmatic, as the colleague already mentioned the different numbers and talk about the main issues of the clean cooking. So I will try to focus on the problem, on the real issue. The real issue today is no longer technology. The problem is financing. Clean cooking produces some of the highest social and climate returns in the entire energy sector, but yet it remains one of the least financed. We need to change the paradigm. Clean cooking should not compete with energy investment. It should be recognized as priority climate and development investment. This requires concessional finance, risk-sharing mechanism, and a strong mobilization of a carbon and climate funds. And this is a global responsibility. Africa cannot carry this transition alone. If the world is serious about a just energy transition, then universal access to clean cooking must become a global objective, measurable and financed. We don't need too much declaration. We just need implementations coalition. And for this one, the International Energy Agency can play a decisive role for aligning countries, financiers, and industry around concrete delivery mechanism. To conclude, I can say for Senegal, clean cooking is about more than energy. It is about dignity, health, and equality. It is also about credibility, and an energy transition that does not reach the kitchen will never reach the society. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Senegal, and happy that we are keeping to the time limit. Let's continue like that. I now give the floor to Sierra Leone.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am in a room full of everyone who's concerned about clean cooking in the world, so I don't need to go over the problems and the solutions. I don't need to go over the numbers. I want to tell you that I come from a country where a little more than 1.5 million households exist. And I want to let you know that out of that, less than 50,000 of those households have access to clean cooking. So it's a real problem for us. It represents about 1.5% of our households who have access to clean cooking. Our ambition is big. I heard that we need to once and for all solve the problem of clean cooking. I heard Chris Wright say it's a life-enhancing and game-changing opportunity for all of us. But I want to let you know that the clean cooking, a major milestone for us, we've launched our clean cooking strategy last year by President Bio. And one of the most impactful policy reforms that we did right after launching the strategy was we removed import duties and goods and services taxes on clean cooking products, including LPG and solar-based e-cooking technology. So we're really trying to change the narrative in Sierra Leone so that we can join our brothers and sisters on the continent to move by 2040 to universal clean cooking. We are quite aware that in 2024, that the $2.2 billion that were committed, Sierra Leone was not able to mobilize sufficient resources to scale implementation at the pace required. But we're here now. As we prepare for the 2026 summit in Nairobi, one of our favorite cities, Sierra Leone would like to highlight its readiness. We have a clean cooking strategy, as I said. We have already done the fiscal reforms supporting LPG and clean cooking fuels and e-cooking markets. We have a clean cooking delivery unit coordinating national implementation. We are also developing a carbon market and financing frameworks. It's a wild west there, but we're prepared to do that so that we can actually make inroads into that. We would also like to note that the integration of the Clean Cooking Alliance. The Clean Cooking Alliance has actually supported us in setting up our Clean Cooking Delivery Unit. And the integration with the Clean Cooking Alliance into the IEA represents an important opportunity to strengthen coordination, align global and national action, and accelerate implementation. We look forward to Nairobi, and we look forward for the day that we will come and say that we have achieved universal clean cooking.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. Staying in Africa, let me give the floor to Ghana.
Thank you very much. I bring you warm greetings from the people of Ghana. This discussion, as the focus has been on, I see funding as being the critical issue, And I believe that we should find a very bold step of resolving the financing challenges. However, there's also the need for us to also look at policy consistency, especially in Africa, as elaborated by earlier speakers from Africa. So beyond the financing, we also need to also work on the policy consistency. One of the policy consistencies I want to bring to attention is we have levies on electricity. Likewise, when it comes to fuels for clean cooking, there are equally levies and taxes on them. So if we can also look at how we can consider taking such levies and taxes from it, so that it becomes very lucrative for people and then affordable for people to go or to use this kind of fuel for clean cooking. So we are calling for the support, funding support, but we as Africans should also look at the policies that we can help push and to drive the clean cooking. In Ghana, for instance, we have the cylinder recirculation policy, which currently we are pursuing. And we are actually calling for partnership and investments in this space to help us achieve the universal access for clean cooking. Thank you.
Thank you, Ghana. Now we cross an ocean to India. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, the Chair and IEA for having me here. It's a very important meeting for all of us. Clean cooking is not just an energy issue for us. It is a health, gender, and environmental imperative. With annually millions of premature deaths globally from indoor smoke, India's Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana PMUI has revolutionized access by providing over 104 million subsidized LPG connections to poor households, empowering women and reducing drudgery. Launched in the year 2016, PMUI is not just a scheme alone. It is the world's largest clean cooking transition program. Compared to other nations, this scale is unprecedented. The number of beneficiaries availed this surpasses the total population of many countries. With such a massive impetus, total LPG connection in India grew to over 333 million in a decade with almost 100% coverage in India, transforming rural kitchen from smoke-filled environment into modern, healthy spaces. It is larger than any country apart from India and China, showcasing a massive, rapid adoption of clean energy. In addition to LPG connections, India has also over 16 million households having piped natural gas for cooking. The core of PMUI is affordability. The Government of India provides upfront subsidies for connections, making LPG accessible, particularly to rural families. But the objective doesn't end with access. To encourage sustained use, beneficiaries receive targeted subsidy for every refills. Today, per day cost of cooking for over 104 million families, that is PMUI families, is just about 8 cents. And even for other families, that is non-PMUI, it is just about 15 cents. As a result, per capita consumption is rising consistently. India's clean cooking revolution is a success story which can be a global blueprint for universal clean cooking access. India's journey offers a replicable model for the global south, particularly for Africa, where millions still rely on traditional cooking fuels. Just for comparison, India's LPG total connection can cover almost entire Africa. We also recently signed, 3 years back, we have signed a statement of intent with IEA and renewed this year. We are open to share our learnings through this journey with all those who are interested, as we firmly believe that climate change is a global challenge and need to be addressed collectively. Thank you once again for giving us this opportunity to address.
Thank you. Thank you, India. I now give the floor to Mexico.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Mexico shares the IEA's vision. Access to energy means reliable, affordable, and sustainable electricity that enables economic development and social well-being. We have achieved 99.7% national electricity coverage, and our goal is clear: to reach 100%, extending service to the most remote and vulnerable communities in the country. Universal access is a cornerstone of our energy justice policy. The transition must close territorial, social, and gender gaps. A central instrument is the Universal Energy Service Fund, financed through the resources linked to the wholesale electricity market. It channels value from the system itself towards social electrification. It finances both network expansion and autonomous renewable solutions in low-density communities. Within this framework, CFE, our national public electricity enterprise, is implementing the Priority Energy Justice Infrastructure Program with thousands of projects financed by this fund aimed at bringing electricity to rural, indigenous communities and marginalized urban areas. The goal is to electrify 295,000 people in rural indigenous communities and marginalized urban areas before 2028. This program not only expands coverage, it includes network reinforcements, transformers, and local substations to improve quality, reliability, and reduce vulnerability to extreme weather events. These actions are implemented with a gender perspective, recognizing that access to energy transforms conditions of health, education, digital connectivity, and economic opportunities, especially for women in rural communities. At the same time, Mexico is strengthening its structural infrastructure. The National Electricity System Strengthening and Expansion Plan 2025-2030 will significantly increase generation capacity and modernize the electricity grid. This effort incorporates new clean capacity, storage, and transmission expansion to strengthen system reliability and diversify the energy mix, with the goal of clean energy reaching around 38% of national generation. Key strategy projects include the construction of 2 solar thermal power plants with the storage in Baja California Sur at the north of the country, which combine energy transition and security of supply in isolated systems. For Mexico, the energy transition is a strategy of diversification, resilience, and responsible use of our renewable potential, fully aligned with our decarbonization goals. In this context, industrial growth and the development of energy markets must become drivers of universal access, ensuring that economic expansion also strengthens energy inclusion. Energy security does not depend solely on physical infrastructure. It also requires the democratization of technical knowledge and the development of local capacities. Therefore, international cooperation, national training systems, and institutional strengthening must be aligned with the objectives of sustainability and equity. In short, universal access, infrastructure expansion, and clean energy are not separate agendas. They are part of the same policy aimed at ensuring energy security with equity and inclusive development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mexico. Now I want to give the floor to my friend from France, Excellency Benoit.
Thank you so much, Engineer Kiva. I'm happy to be with all of you this morning, 2 years after this big summit launched by the IEA in Paris. And I want to extend my thanks to President Ruto and to Dr. Fatih Birol on leading us and guiding us in this direction. This is a high priority, and you know that you will be able to count on France this year and in the next decade to implement our collective goal on this topic. I will try to be super quick and to take stock also of what I heard this morning, because I think that this particular fora helps us also to define guidelines and orientation in the way we want to implement our collective target. And the beauty of the discussion this morning was it demonstrates that it requires both political determination and regulatory framework from all countries around the table to set up a legal framework that enable us to invest. And I think it's super critical because in a way it demonstrates also, and that's also a lesson learned since the 2 years, and I really appreciate also the willingness from the IEA to report back and to say what has worked and what has not worked. Without this kind of regulatory framework, and I commend all African countries that explained what they were doing, investment are not possible. And I think one of the very interesting lessons is that when you have this regulatory framework, we are able to bring a private and public investment, and I could not agree more with my colleagues from Senegal on the way that we need to redesign a little bit our investment pattern. So maybe one quick suggestion, we were discussing, and I would like also to encourage all our partners, NGOs, philanthropies, but also private companies who are investing and who are making the delivery unit in bringing clean cooking solution to households. Let's think about the next steps in terms of investment patterns. I was with Total a couple of days ago with helping to deliver to units, LPG units to the people, and other solution, exploring also electricity solution. And we were discussing what about carbon credits, for instance. You know that the European Union, with this new climate law for 2040, will be a big investors in all territories to purchase carbon credit. It can be a super solution to boost and enlarge and go to the final miles to basically scale up all your effort. And I think, I mean, we are engaged with Kenya in partnership in delivering on carbon market and carbon credit, and this could be also a very important aspect to enhance access and to scale up our effort, because it's all about scaling up now. I totally agree. We have the technology, and this clean cooking dimension is only one part of the question of access to energy in our partners' country. This is why France and the European Union will continue also to co-invest in grids, in large infrastructures that will aim not only to support green industrialization in the African continent, but also to give access to electricity. That will be a game changer, definitely, in the life of million persons in Africa. And this is why also we will co-host another summit in Kenya with President Ruto and President Macron earlier this year in May, to boost and catalyze private investment for energy infrastructure in Africa. And I think it serves our common purpose, so very happy to continue to work with you, and you can count on us for both summit in Nairobi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambassador Benoit. My minister welcomes you again in May. I now turn to Brazil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is impossible to seriously discuss the future of energy while so many remain excluded from access to basic energy services. For Brazil, this agenda is at the core of our energy policies. Over recent decades, we have consistently advanced toward universal access to electricity through long-term public policies. Yet, even though access to clean cooking is not as severe a problem as in other developing countries, it does remain a challenge in parts of Brazil. This is why the government is now expanding access to cooking gas for low-income families. Today, 17 million Brazilian families are eligible to participate in the People's Gas Program, a large-scale initiative aimed at ensuring access to cooking gas as a safe, modern, and cleaner source of energy for food preparation. It is a policy that positively affects a broad range of issues: public health, family safety, women's autonomy, and the quality of life of those most vulnerable. Internationally, Brazil is also committed to joining forces in our common fight to make clean cooking widespread. We all know this is an ethical, social, and development imperative. We commend the IEA for its efforts and initiatives over the last years. Of course, each national reality presents specific challenges and requires accordingly appropriate solutions. What is needed now is scale, international cooperation, and broad political commitment. Brazil stands ready to work with partners to help turn debate into action and to help ensure that access to clean cooking ceases to be a promise and becomes a reality for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brazil. Having heard from governments, we will now turn to other key partners and stakeholders, and we will request if you can save on time, that will be very appreciated. And now I want to give the floor to Vito.
Thank you. Ministers and distinguished guests, I'll be quick. There's an urgent task and not much time to talk about it. Vitol is a global energy company. Many of you may not have heard of us, but we deliver about $1 billion a day of energy around the world. We have a very large presence in Africa. We're in 30 countries across Africa with over 4,000 service stations and LPG storage and delivery mechanisms across 17 of those countries. So we've always played a big part in clean cooking, and we've been investing in the area for over 20 years. We made a pledge at the summit in 2024, and pleased to report that we've invested $150 million in furthering the use of LPG across Africa. A lot of that's in infrastructure and cylinders. And I think, when we thought about the problem, I think there are three things that we'd like to say today. First and foremost is something that was mentioned earlier on, which is robust and standardized carbon methodologies around Article 6 to support the generation of carbon credits, such as CORSIA-type carbon credits. Obviously, the upfront cost of cylinders is often a problem in terms of affordability in many of the countries that we've been speaking about. And that potential for carbon credits can unlock a little bit of finance at the front end of this type of transaction and penetration of the LPG business. So we think that's very important. And I think, secondly, the LPG industry requires consistent regulation and enforcement, which the WLGA is the trade body to cover. And obviously that remains a very important aspect when handling a dangerous product such as LPG. And then the third point that we'd like to make is that regulatory certainty is always incredibly important, and as these investments are made across Africa, that regulatory certainty is something that we seek wherever we go. So those would be our three recommendations to scale where we are today and to grow it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vito. I now give the floor to Africa 50, and also remind on the screens you can follow the timing.
Yes. Thank you. I hope that remark was not for me. Well, thank you. It's Engineer Kiva. It's an honor and a tremendous opportunity to join this roundtable, and I feel an excitement, a momentum here when it comes to clean cooking. Let me thank my good friend Fatih and IEA for elevating this issue really as a global challenge that can be solved. And I agree with Secretary Wright. This can be solved, and this can be solved quickly if we act with speed and at scale. I represent Africa 50. This is an infrastructure investment platform owned by 33 African countries, including Kenya. My good friend and brother, CS Wandayi Opio, is here. We will work together to make the Kenyan summit a success. Africa 50 was given the mandate by our shareholders to invest in infrastructure. We own today 5 funds, investment funds. We deploy capital, and we have a commercial mandate. What I'm here to say is that clean cooking should be treated as an investable opportunity with the right investment structures, blended structures where you have grant, concessional financing, but also commercial capital. and Africa 50, we are ready to play our part. We will focus on equity. We don't do debt. We'll put equity in bankable structures. We like to scale. But we're also going to work with foundations to attract capital. I think, Secretary Wright, you created the Bettering Human Life Foundation, which is focusing on clean cooking. I'm working with Energy Corps, also of my friend Toby Rice, and also EFI with Ernie Moniz. Let's work together, let's partner to invest. What I'm proposing here is that by the time we get to Nairobi, we would have achieved first close of a couple of funds that we are raising that will be able to invest in clean cooking in Africa. So my message here is that we are ready to invest, we're seeking partners to scale, and this is what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I now turn the floor to World Bank.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited by all what I have heard today. The good news is that the World Bank started in 2019 launching its clean cooking fund within the Energy Sector Management Assistance Program. So we have some experience and some lessons learned. We have current portfolio is $340 million, targeting 63 million people. And Africa is the majority part of it, 40 million people already. So the lessons learned, and we have here today with the ministers that this has already been, embarked in some of the countries. That's what I am excited. First, strong country ownership and integrated planning are fundamental. And we have heard today countries which have this ownership. And the World Bank Group with African Development Bank launched the Mission 300 initiative to connect 300 million people to electricity by 2030. And clean cooking is part of this program. It's the third pillar of this program. So when you have an energy compact, national energy compact, within clean cooking target is monitored and developed, it's a first pillar of the success. Second one is the structure of financing. We have said we need financing. We need to be innovative. We need to think out of the box. We need the full range of the solutions. De-risking facilities, blended finance, concessional money, equity, debt, everything is needed, and that's where the World Bank can bring the full range of its capacity. Third, private sector participation across the value chain is critical because it's not our DFIs alone that will finance this program. And that's for that we can also bring mechanisms through policy regulation, carbon market support, de-risking facilities where the private capital can bring in the true money. So I am really happy to call this call for action. You can count with the World Bank support to be here, and in July we'll be there with more to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, the World Bank. I now turn the floor to Enabel.
Good morning, everyone. Excited to be here. First time I'm here at the meeting at the IEA. Enable is the Belgian Agency for International Cooperation. We work in 21 countries, mostly in Africa, and we work with countries on their energy transition policy. So we do a lot of things that have been discussed today, regulatory environment, data, private sector engagement. So I will not repeat everything, but I just want to go on 2 points. Minister of Energy of Tanzania, you mentioned very loudly scale and speed, and I agree with you. And that's what we do, I think, to scale fragmented projects and to come with larger initiatives. And I'm happy to be with my colleague from SNV, who will speak later. But the Steam Europe and Global Gateway from the European Commission, that's exactly the goal. Development agencies from member countries of the EU to come together to bring skills together with our partners from different countries. So I think we can do that. And the second point, access to finance, Dimfla, you mentioned that as well. I was three weeks ago in Davos at the World Economic Forum, and I realized that money is not the problem. There is plenty of money in the world. What we need to do is indeed to find and scale bankable projects, structure them in a way, and it's more, and thank you, the World Bank, it's more than the public institutions. I think it's also private capital that is necessary, pension funds, etc. And for that, I feel as an agency, we have a role to play to work with countries and partners to bring projects at scale and to sell them in a way to also private investors. So great discussion, thank you, and great to be here.
Thank you very much, Annabelle. I now want to give the floor to Annie. And just to say, we have this room until maybe 35. We are hoping we can accommodate the rest within that. If not, you forgive us, and maybe we'll find a way of how you can still pass your message. But that also depends on how quickly we can just give the points for the remaining ones. Anna, you have the floor.
This one, okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everybody. We took part of the first summit 2 years ago. We have hopes about the next summit. We hope that we can mark a big shift from strong ambition to strong delivery, also because we do share the opinion that Secretary Wright said. This target is achievable, so we have to do it. ENI has operations in 13 countries in Africa. And at that time, 2 years ago, we took the commitment to ensuring access to clean cooking for 10 million people by 2027 and targeting 20 million by 2030 with an associate spending on 300 million. Because we do believe that this is a fundamental piece of our just transition journey as a company. And to date, we reach more than 4 million people, basically in Ivory Coast, Mozambique, Rwanda, Angola, Republic of Congo, Zambia, Tanzania, and Madagascar. Some footnotes. Good project development require strong partnership with local actors and national government, and we're happy about that. Affordability, you mentioned. Cook stoves are distributed free of charge, so enabling access in vulnerable and remote areas. I would like to take the point that Minister of Tanzania made about not considering this issue only as a social problem. This is a value chain. This is a value chain. Around 90% of cook stoves, tier 3 or higher, that we are doing is locally produced. So creating jobs and supporting local entrepreneurship. And as Minister of India said, if we have an integrated approach linking together clean cooking with health, nutrition, gender, and community development, we deliver more durable outcomes. This is a conundrum of different issues. And next, starting in 2015, we transit from improved cooktop to advanced cooktops like induction stoves and pyrolytic stoves. Two key challenges among many. In the next summit, I take the point made by the Minister of France. Carbon finance can play a critical role in general to additional source of private capital, improving project and enabling scale. And more specifically, clean cooking carbon credits should be eligible for use in voluntary carbon markets to compensate residual emission and including by companies without a direct presence in the host country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I now turn to Pegas. You can even start with finally.
Thank you very much. Governments represented here have made remarkable progress in expanding clean cooking LPG in Asia, in India. Yet across Africa and other emerging markets, we continue to observe a structural affordability gap. Clean cooking issue is an affordability issue. Many households cannot afford a full cylinder upfront, even where subsidies exist. As a result, clean cooking adoption is often intermittent, with families reverting to biomass. To close this last mile gap, we believe that regulation, including safe and flexible refilling cylinders regulation like Canada, like South Africa, that allows customers to refill their cylinder from 50 cents USD, 50 cents, without any subsidy, could create a fast inclusion of the majority of customers while preserving cylinder integrity and standards. As we prepare for the next summit, we encourage governments and partners to investigate those regulatory frameworks to enable complementary distribution models, particularly in high biomass and populated regions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I now give the floor to Andrew, CEO.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, our colleague from Senegal made the best statement, which was, we don't need declarations, we need implementation. And that's exactly what the Clean Cooking Accelerator Initiative the Secretary Wright announced is all about. Under the leadership of the government of Norway and the US and the IEA, a group of philanthropies and others, including the Clean Cooking Alliance, Rockefeller Foundation, the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, and Energy Corps. And if, for those of you not familiar with Energy Corps, there's an excellent article in the Wall Street Journal that just came out today about it, are working together to turn clean cooking into implementation. Rockefeller, through its support in Mission 300, already is working very closely with the World Bank and the African Development Bank to support the development of implementation units to advance the national energy compacts across 30 African countries, soon to be 40 African countries. And the third pillar of each of those compacts is focused on energy access and clean cooking. So we're going to be working together to place people within those units to develop bankable pipelines of projects that will be investable. We'll be looking at ways for crowding in private investment to make sure that we can turn to implementation, focusing on things like developing LNG infrastructure and supply chains, making sure that African countries themselves are taking advantage of the resources that they have. So we're very excited to be part of this initiative, and we welcome other partners on this initiative as well, and wishing everyone the very best.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andrew, and you are setting another new record of 1 minute and a few seconds. So in fact, if we can do 1 minute, we will be able to accommodate more people. For the rest who are coming on, let's try with Equinor.
Thank you. Challenge accepted. Excellency, energy friends, thank you for the kind invitation. It's a privilege to be here today. Equinor is an energy company headquartered in Norway with operations in more than 20 countries worldwide, known for our energy supplies into Europe, but we are also one of the major LPG providers to the world. So on that note, looking from that perspective, we clearly see the benefits of LPG in expanding clean cooking across African markets. LPG is available today, it's scalable, it's capable of delivering immediate health benefits, and of course it directly supports economic development for the people that get the access. In our view, the key challenge is not supply, but enabling conditions, regulatory frameworks, infrastructure investments, such as storage and distribution, and mechanisms to address upfront affordability barriers for households. Our experience comes from India, and I want to commend India for the tremendous job that they have done, and we have been very lucky to be, we are a small part of that, supplying into India. We see that with the activity there, more than 90 million people have enjoyed switching from firewood to LPG, and that's an amazing achievement for India. And also, it's a fossil to fossil fuel transition, which is often overlooked. So for those looking for emission reductions, you get real emission reductions, but from fossil to fossil. And I think my last point is that we think the Indian example can provide inspiration to other countries also in Africa. And as a large supplier, we look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much, Equinor. And I'll turn the floor to Sida.
Yes, hello, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. I'm honored to be here. So following up on our co-chair in Annabelle Practitioners Network for Development Cooperation Agencies, I mean, access to energy is strongly linked to the economic development and national security and independence. It's something that we know working in this area for more than 50 years. But I will come straight to the point that successful policies and solutions must be people-centered and built around the local context and the living conditions of women and men and youth and children in this area. So when it comes to clean cooking, we definitely see that clean cooking is a key part of this initiative. But one of the main concerns that we see is actually the blended finance and the crowding in of the capital. So as an example, we provided a year ago a facility for the modern cooking facility for Africa. It's Africa's largest results-based funding program that achieved a factor of 1.1 to 3 in additionality. But more can be done, and more needs to be done as well. And we see electricity access is therefore remains a key transition agenda for this, both off-grid and also decentralized supply. So we will continue to work with mobilize additional capacity, working with catalytic grants that will continue to decrease as in many other countries. But we have so far been able to mobilize around $1.6 billion in guarantees in this specific area. But here we definitely see that for this to work, it has to be built together in collaboration and also solutions around the business development in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Sida. I'll give the floor to my neighbor here, WLGA.
Many thanks, Excellencies, dear colleagues. My name is James Rockwell. I represent the World Liquid Gas Association, which is essentially the LPG industry. LPG has been talked about a lot today, and I think we all agree that LPG is probably going to be doing the lion's share of reaching universal access to clean cooking in Africa in the coming decade or 2 decades. My organization represents more than 300 companies operating in 125 countries around the world in LPG. So I think it's fair to say that we know the business, we know what we're talking about. We know that LPG works. We know it will be the single largest contributor to solving the problem. And I will say that the LPG sector is ready to invest at scale. We know what works. We've had the fantastic example from India. We've had this super example from Brazil. But we also recognize that the African continent will require an innovation in the way we do business. We have pay-as-you-go models, we have smart cylinders. We do need to innovate. But we can only move as fast as the enabling environment allows us. And I'd like to thank the representative from France for putting his finger exactly on the issue. We need the right policy environment. We need the enabling environment. The barrier is not technology. The barrier is certainly not supply. We hear about the last mile. It's very important to get the last mile right, but if we don't have the first mile, we won't have the last mile. So investment in infrastructure is critical, and what holds us back on investment in infrastructure is often things like, it's non-financial issues, it's things like permits that slow us down. We need regulation that creates trust, that reduces risk, and improves the investment attractiveness. We also need to make sure that finance treats LPG on equal footing with other clean cooking solutions, and that is not the case right now. If we can align our policy, our regulation, and finance, I think we can move millions of households to clean cooking within the next decade, not by 2040. So I'd leave you by saying that the industry is ready to deliver, and I look forward to progress on this issue by the time we meet together in Nairobi. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll give the floor to Total, under 1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you, Excellencies, distinguished guests. It was in 14th of May 2024, which was the opportunity for Total Energy and our CEO, Patrick Pouyanné, to send a very clear message to this assembly. And it was there that our company pledged that we were going to tackle 100 million people by 2030 through clean cooking, 85 million in Africa, 15 million in India. And to do that, our company was to invest more than 400 million. And this is what we are doing since we make this pledge. I would like also to say that currently Total is working within 22 countries, developing LPGs, locally with a government and private sectors. Most of our investments are done through cylinders, so to give accessibility to population. And what I would like to mention to all of you today is that this commitment is done with 70% of our investment and our cylinders made and produced locally, because we believe that the only way is to strengthen the economical tissue wherever we are playing and wherever we are distributing our LPG. That was mainly the most important message I would like to share with you. Where we are on track, and we are fighting, and we are going to commit to our, target. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Total. I must apologize for the few remaining that due to time limitations, we are not able to listen to us today, to you today. But we hope we'll get an opportunity to interact either directly with the colleagues or also with the IEA. But I must thank all the speakers for your contributions, and we are then closing the floor. Today's discussions clearly shows both the progress made since the first summit and the ambition we share for the next one. Kenya is honored to host the 2026 Clean Cooking Summit in Nairobi, and we look forward to interaction with you. With that, I thank you for your engagement and declare this session closed. Thank you very much.
Very good.